Greetings, fellow conquerors, and welcome back to Great Britain here in EU4, where we are watching our only ally get smashed by Austria. Well, they're not our only ally, but they're our only major power ally, which is starting to become more and more relevant. We are going to pick up Diplotech 13 here. Go ahead and get more trade efficiency, which is pretty awesome for us. Make about a ducat more per month. Very nice. And part of the reason we didn't support the Netherlands, of course, is that, well, they're getting smashed. And we did not have what it took to take on the massive army that Austria has. So we've abandoned the cause on that one. Now I'm looking around here, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, what are some good provinces to build or to improve manpower on? And we have all these lovely farmlands here in the British countryside where improving manpower is a great idea. So we're doing that. Increasing our maximum. Our current maximum is 84,000, but our force limit is 105,000, so make of that what you will. Our level 1 advisor has died. However, we do get a +1 or 10% morale of armies at a +1, which is pretty great. Now, personally, I think that I'll get back to that thought. The Great Comet! Mysterious phenomena on the night sky have often been interpreted as bad omens or signs of the end times. An exceptionally noticeable such phenomenon, a great comet, has been visible recently, causing more of a stir than usual. Goban here, however, has taken the opportunity to closely observe the comet's movements. The result has been a scientific work that tells us much about the object's distance from us and dispels many old superstitions about comets. While it appears uncertain if commoners will remember this in the future, this comet has provided more insight than fear. Keep looking at the sky, gain 1 stability. That's right. So, if you have a natural scientist, I guess it has to be after the year 1550 or something like that. I don't know, I have to look on the wiki for the exact date. But if you have a natural scientist in your employ at the time when a comet goes off, then instead of losing stability, you gain stability, which is pretty awesome. Now I'm just sitting here looking at the sheer amount of troops that the Spanish are having to fight, and I have to say that I'm pretty grateful that I'm not in that war. However, that also means the situation is beginning to look increasingly grim for us. And we may have to ally the Ottomans just to deter an invasion. Because the Austrians still are quite powerful in their own right. Especially since because of their Anatolian tech group, their military tech is starting to lag behind. And their pips are becoming less and less useful. Now, if the Netherlands would just capitulate, then we could get this over with, and everything would be fine. But unfortunately, it looks like they're going to go for a separate peace with the Spanish, which means that we're probably going to lose the alliance for 10 years, if I had to guess. Kill the bailiff, kill every bailiff that ever lived, basically, lose 10 prestige. We get another stability from a lack of corruption, which is very nice. And currently I'm saving for another factory. Our manpower situation has stabilized, which is pretty great. The coalition against us is mounting. But that's okay. I'm not really worried about it. We could get a better relations over time guy. And I think we will, because we now have a the right tech group for it. And Spain is still allied with us. Okay, good. We're still allied with Spain. So I doubt that the Austrians have the gall to attack us. Especially if we allied the Ottomans. Yeah. So the Netherlands did survive. It's worth noting. However, they lost Holland. And some of these other provinces might join the Dutch anyway. Now, obviously, Holland itself is Dutch, but we're no longer guaranteeing their independence. However, they do manage to have their own allies now, which is pretty great. I don't want to pick up these texts ahead of time. I feel like that's just a waste. So we're going to wait. You know, let time pass a little bit. The Northern Rebellion. Holy moly. Queen Elizabeth I sought to bring about a religious settlement with the objective of establishing in England a Protestant Anglican church with herself as the supreme governor. Things began to fray around the edges when Mary, Queen of Scots, fled to England. The problem for Elizabeth I was that Mary was a Catholic claimant to the English throne. Elizabeth I had Mary locked away in various castles, but she still became the center of numerous conspiracies to overthrow the upstarts who had displaced the ancient aristocracy. Their basic idea was to marry Mary to Norfolk, England's only duke. This combination represented a serious threat to Elizabeth I, but Norfolk seemed undecided and continued to delay until Elizabeth I invited him to London, whereupon she locked him in the Tower of London. Elizabeth I suspected that the Earls of Northumberland, Westmoreland, and Cumberland were involved in the conspiracy and invited them to London as well. The Earls guessed their accommodation would be the Tower and opted instead for a rebellion, which began about midnight on the 9th of November 1569. The Catholic faith had survived in the north, and there was real resentment against the extension of Tudor domination and Elizabeth I's new men. The Earl of Northumberland mustered his troops in Richmond on the 16th of November. Sir George was appointed Provost Marshal, and martial law was declared. Elizabeth I ordered that 700 of the riffraff he executed, 200 of those were to be from or around Richmond. How many were actually executed is not known, but seemingly it was a smaller number, perhaps around 57, 12 of whom were from Richmond. The decade after the rebellion was a difficult period for Catholics who faced constant persecution. Religious meetings were held in secret, away from the eyes of unfriendly informants. It seems, however, that the few gentry who were accused in court of holding Catholic beliefs were the mere tip of a great pyramid which represented a hidden underground movement. Keep Norfolk in the Tower and smash the rebels. Gain 1 stability, get a bunch of rebels, missionary strength, technology cost. Keep Norfolk in the Tower and negotiate. 22 noble rebels, trade efficiency minus 5% for 5 years, and minus 10% cavalry cost. Or lose stability, trade efficiency, and cavalry cost. I think keep him in the Tower and negotiate is the best one here. So we'll take that. I don't like that it unpaused automatically. Flanders joins the Republic. The Netherlands have... Okay, yeah. We've gained conquest against the Netherlands. Well, better time. No, they're allied with the Spanish still. The Netherlands may prove to be a valuable ally in the future. However, I did not think that being in the war with them was worth the investment, considering how low our manpower already was. Alright, well, let's go crush this rebellion. Oh no, autonomy, please, no. Not like this. Not 10%. That's horrible. I have no idea where these guys are going to go, so I'm going to go chill in Yorkshire. I think. Actually, no, let's stay here in Cumbria because we have a woods province. They have a lot of cavalry. Can we beat them to Lothian? Doesn't look like it, so we're just going to take the penalty on the nose here. We're actually losing to their cavalry, so guess we're backing out of that one. Alright. I really hate having bad troops. It is so frustrating being this big and having troops this terrible. We really... Our next 2 idea groups are going to be military. It's just... That's what we have to do. Because our troops are just not, like, good enough. We need defensive ideas. We definitely need quality ideas as well, just to make this work. Offensive ideas may have arguably not been the right call. Now, we could conceivably almost get an alliance with the Ottomans. Almost. Let's see, did Milan... Which side of the league is Milan on? I don't think they're on a side. Oh no, they're on the Protestant League. So if we look here, we do have a lot of people on this side. We have the Netherlands, we have Sweden, we have myself and Spain, and we have the Ottomans. Versus basically Brandenburg, Austria, Poland, and Poland, Lithuania. Also Liège, I think, is in there. And Liège has like something like Liège has something like 20,000 troops. Novgorod joined the league, but who cares? They're so tiny, and their tech's probably garbage as well. Mainz is about to get annexed, so they're not going to be a threat anymore. Frankfurt, one province minor. Salzburg, basically one province minor. Cleves, Bar, all terrible provinces, basically. Livonian Order, who really cares? So basically what we're asking is, can myself, Spain, the Ottomans, and Sweden beat Austria and Poland, Lithuania? We also have Milan on our side. I believe the Papal State, though... Let's see, what's their flag look like again? It's 2 keys. I believe that they're in the Catholic League, if I had to guess. It would be hilarious if not. Let's see, Verden, Bremen. Maybe the Papal State just didn't get involved. Yeah, I'm not seeing them anywhere on this list. So we can count the Papal State out. And Tuscany would fight on Austria's side, since he hasn't picked a league yet. So that would be another 40,000 troops we'd have to deal with, which is frustrating. And of course we'd have to deal with Brandenburg's 20% morale, which would be difficult to deal with as well. How big is Brandenburg, anyway? He's got fewer troops than Sweden, and Sweden picked up defensive ideas, so I don't know. Sweden could probably beat Brandenburg pretty handily. It would be a tough war. You know, let's not deceive ourselves. It would be a very tough war. Our manpower situation is bad. Our army situation is bad. But we have to consider, like, the price of, you know, the spoils of victory here would be making sure that Austria no longer has the bonuses of being emperor. Now, it's worth noting that if we don't use the correct casus belli here, if we don't use religious league, then Austria gets all of, you know, its religious allies, even if it doesn't get any, you know, on top of its normal allies, of course, and they're also in a coalition against us, so that's really hurting us. We are losing money monthly because we have this +2 Diplo advisor, but I felt like he was worth the asking price. And this siege, alright. Thanks, Elizabeth I. Thought you were supposed to be a great leader. Historically she was. She did some crazy stuff. Alright. Good. Alright, we're in a good situation now. Although our manpower is still just not recovering in time. Alright, how old is Edward V? He's 58, so I'm going to go ahead and lose legitimacy rather than stability. I feel like that's a reasonable thing. I think we can hold out for until 1581 to get these next tech levels. Now, of course, the Dutch aren't going to want to ally us for a long time. Apparently they can rival the Austrians. I have no idea how that works, considering that Austria is, like, way bigger. Like, let's just look at the ledger more. I know this is becoming Spreadsheet Simulator 2016, but the Netherlands can support 32,000 troops, since the Orangists are in power. Alright, let's get to 1581 here. Right. These are only going to cost 672 for military tech 15 and only 612 for admin, so yeah, we'll go ahead and pick it up a little bit early. Alright, so we can get either Mauritian or charge infantry, and I think we go with Mauritian because they have a better fire modifier, which is basically what we're focusing on. You know, we want better fire all around, because we have better cannons. Plus, fire phase is always the first phase, so You know, you do more on that first initial bout, and then, you know, the enemies become a lot weaker as a result. Unfortunately, our power projection is 0 after, you know, denying the call to arms against Austria, but, you know, that was a losing war. There was nothing we could do about that one. And unfortunately, that is kind of a bad portent as to how that war would turn out normally. I'm going to go ahead and ally the Ottomans, because we can. I am a little worried about how this will impact relations with the Spanish, but I am going to go ahead and ally the Ottomans. Alright, we have immediately 2 countries leaving the coalition against us. Now, I believe if we don't start the League War by something like 1600, then, you know, they win. The Catholics win. Now, we do have, let's see, we have 9 more nations in the League than the Austrians do, so I'm starting to think that... Oh, and by the way, we won in Parliament. That's cool. Get cheaper regiment costs. That's nice. It's neat. So yeah, if we look at the situation as it is, what we're looking at essentially is a massive war that all it would gain us is hurting Austria a little bit. And if we look at the like the map mode anyway, like let's see what he gets for being emperor. He gets 15 more force limit, 10 more tax income. Which, you know what, that's actually quite a lot. So if we did manage to cut him down, some people are actually voting for Spain to be emperor, which I think is pretty hilarious. Improve relations with Gascony again. We've been spying on Burgundy for forever because I've been just sitting here thinking about the League War, because really that's our next like avenue of approach, I guess. And pretty much everyone, regardless of whether or not they want to be in the war, is going to be in the war. So the question we have is, well, also Portugal. Where's Portugal on this list? Did he join a league? Did he join a side? I don't think Portugal joined the Protestant League. He should, but... Yeah, Portugal doesn't give a shit. They're basically the most worthless ally of all time. Kazan has joined. Kazan has joined the Protestant League. Well, how about that? That is incredible. Any other crazy people that joined the league that I should know about? Like, let's just take a look here. Netherlands, Ulm, Württemberg, Thuringia, Bavaria, Holland, Brunswick, East Frisia, Ragusa, Sweden, Milan, Crimea is okay. Augsburg, the Ottomans, Serbia, Hesse, Saxony is tiny. Memmingen, Gelre, Lorraine, Croatia, the Palatinate. Hey, nice. Spain and Bohemia, which means Brunswick must be on the Catholic side, right? No? Oh, he's a member of our league as well. I think we could do it, but it's all about timing. We need to have more troops. And basically, regardless of what we do, if we wait 5 years, we're going to have the +1 morale advantage over the Austrians, which I think means we definitely have an advantage. Poland has westernized, but they're still at Tech 12, right alongside the Ottomans. So the Ottomans and Poland-Lithuania will kind of cancel each other out, just because the Ottomans are so big. Spain, of course, at our Tech at Tech 14, which means they're closer to Tech 15 than Austria is, which is important, because at Tech 15, military Tech 15, you get +1 morale, which is huge. And of course, we have a 30,000 stack of Brabantian separatists here in Austria, just because of the sheer amount of unrest you get for taking these Dutch provinces, which is why I wasn't really that upset when we didn't take them from them in that humiliate war that we did against Austria. We're going to build another factory, though, because factories are awesome. Let's build this one here in Armor. Get 0.6 more ducats per month. Morale of armies minus 5% for 2 years. That's fine. And we're gaining about a little bit, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 8,500, 9,000 manpower a year. I want to at least be at 40,000 before we start this war. Liège has left the military coalition. Good. Go away. Yep, Austria has left the coalition. That's right. Go away. Shoo. Now, we should be looking to make another 20 stack. Oh, our natural scientist that gave us stability has perished. What a shame. We'll pick up the artist, because I don't really... We only have one more province to convert. Now, I don't know if Austria can get to this land. Which is kind of... Oh, there we go. There we go. Oh, but the Austrians only sent 9,000 troops. What is this? Austria's getting smashed by his rebels. He did pick up Tech 14, which is unfortunate, but what can you do? Now, whether or not we have a Tech 15 or Tech 16 advantage, because Tech 16 is pretty huge for us as well. Whether or not we have an advantage in either of those categories, it's basically going to give us just a really big advantage against Austria. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm going to pad each of these armies with some mercenaries, so that all the losses we take aren't just in manpower. So we're going to train like a decent number of mercenaries here. We'll add 3 to each of these stacks. Bring them up to 30 troops. There we go. So now we're up to 90,000 troops. Are spending a little bit on the mercs, but we do have administrative ideas, which means we're not spending as much as we could be. And our manpower is looking decent, but not quite where we need it to be. And really, we need this minus 5% morale of armies thing to just go, because that could seriously ruin us. And of course, Sweden declares a war against Austria. Who's Sweden's ally? Us and Crimea. And do you think that we can win this war? Well, we do have Tech 15, I guess. We have no claims on Austria's land, because we don't really want this Dutch clay, because it's just going to blow up anyway. I really don't want to accept this. But without us, Austria's just going to blow up anyway. You know what? I'm sorry, Sweden. I'm declining, but don't worry. We're going to attack Austria soon anyway. In the League War. Here's the thing. If Sweden was confident enough to attack Austria, just straight up, as they were, with only us as an ally, how many troops does Austria have? What is the Austrian situation? They've still got 84,000 troops. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't know what Sweden thought he was doing here. Alright, well, I plan on starting the League War in a little bit here. We're going to let a little bit more time pass, but I don't think I'm going to do it in this episode. I'd rather save that for the start of the next episode. So we are going to go ahead and get some manpower. Lose 50 diplo power sucks. But hey, we can pick up our first colonist. Which is pretty great. Now, how far can we reach here? We could reach all the way to Canada if we wanted to. Oh. Well, let's go ahead and colonize this province since it doesn't have any any problems with it. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and end the episode here. Thank you for joining me, my fellow Britishmen, and I'll see you guys in the next one.